Hi, it's Mike DelSignore, Massachusetts OUI lawyer. In today's video, I want to talk about what happens if you're arrested for OUI, and the case is going to be heard in the Framingham District Court. Framingham is a court I've been going to for years. Really like the clerk's great there. Judges are terrific. The DAs, it's a court I enjoy practicing, had a lot of success in. So let me tell you about what I look for in an OUI case. Basically what I'm looking for when I review the report is I'm sort of reading the report to say, what will the officers say when I cross-examine him? I've cross-examined a lot of officers. So I know that when you read the report, you're going to say that they're going to hear that you failed the field test, that you put your foot down, you're unsteady on your feet. But I know that there's a lot of details in that report that the officer doesn't put in. So I'm envisioning my cross-examination where the officer will acknowledge you did a lot of things right. So I'm going to take those field tests that generally it's a very brief statement in the report about how you did, and I'm going to add everything you did right. Then I'm going to put context on it from what you tell me and from common sense that you were nervous, you were tired, you were scared, cars were going by on the side of the road. That really wasn't an accurate assessment of whether you were under the influence of alcohol. You might have even had a medical condition that the officer didn't know about, or if he did, that wasn't really factored in. So those tests we can challenge, and we can frankly use those in our defense in many cases. Next, I look at the driving. How serious is the driving? There's a lot of minimal driving infractions going across the lanes, stuff that's not necessarily indicative of somebody under the influence. So just because you're speeding, commit a lane violation, you could have been on your phone, tired. We see a lot of traffic infractions that have nothing to do with alcohol. Then I look at the other aspects of the case. How do you interact with the officer? They're looking for every little thing that you do potentially as a sign that you're impaired or a sign that you weren't. When they ask for the license and registration, the cop, if he doesn't say there was any issue with it, it shows that you had good dexterity, good coordination. If you fumbled for it, they're going to put that in the report, and they're going to say, well, that was a sign of impairment. How you get out of the car, do you lean on the car, use it for balance? If you don't, it's a sign that you weren't under the influence. And this is all in their manual. They have a very big manual that lists all the signs that they're looking for in terms of someone is under the influence of alcohol. I know those clues. I'll basically cross-examine and try to say, hey, you didn't see this. You didn't see this sign. You're taught to look for someone under the influence, might have trouble pulling over, might be slow to give you the license, registration, and you didn't see that. So it's a sign that the person wasn't impaired. If you're polite, cooperative, respectful, shows you had good mental ability, good awareness of what's going on, and you were respectful to the officers. Finally, if there's a breath test in the case, I'll go through different ways to exclude that from evidence, meaning that it won't be considered at trial. Sometimes we might need to hire an expert, but in a lot of cases we don't need to take that measure. We can do what they call a motion eliminate to get the breath test knocked out. We can challenge the 15-minute observation period. They're supposed to watch you for 15 minutes prior to doing a test. Most officers kind of blow that off. They don't do it. They don't think that's very important. So I'll look if there's an issue with the observations, the periodic testing, see if I can get the breathalyzer excluded from evidence. So what I'll do is part of my representation, I'll make sure you understand the license consequence, how to get it back. We have PDFs on how to set up hearings to get your license back after the 30 days or after the 6 months if the case is still open. Generally, cases in Framingham aren't going to take 6 months. That court tends to move the cases pretty fast. So when you're charged with an OUI, make sure you understand the penalties. If you resolve the case, you get a continuance without a finding. But if you went to trial on a first offense, generally the punishment isn't much greater. So you're not at a significantly substantial risk of really getting a harsher punishment. It's just one's technically a conviction and one's not a conviction. So keep those things in mind. Usually there's not a downside to taking the case to trial. But if for some, you might want to get your license back quicker. You might want to get move on with things. I can go over the pros and cons of resolving the case or fighting the case. I've been in that court for a long time, so I can give you basically a realistic assessment of how the case will go, what could happen, what might not happen, and how we can best handle the case to have you found not guilty. That's my passion. I hope I can have you found not guilty. You can avoid having an OUI in your record. It's a lifetime look back. So these things never go away. So it's best if we can get the not guilty. But I don't have people pay for trials or go to trials unnecessarily. If it's a case that should be resolved, I'll let you know that. I'll tell you what I think. and we'll try to resolve it as quickly as possible. So if you have questions on an OUI in Framingham, feel free to call, text anytime, 781-686-5924. I'll walk you through the case, go over the report with you, give you all the information you need, whether you hire me or not, and you'll help you make the best decision for you in your case. So if you have those questions, feel free to reach out as I can represent you, help you make a good decision on the case, decide whether you want to fight it or take a resolution.